Hey guys, Dave of Chaos Crafting here. This is going to be a second video of making inexpensive Warhammer 40K terrain. I should throw up a link to the first video. My challenge was to build an entire table full of terrain for under $25. And I apologize, this video has taken so long. I've been away from content creation now for about, 6 months. Some stuff came up in my career. I had to do a little bit of creative, career management. But here I am, I'm back, doing some more content. I hope you enjoy. As with most of my builds, I start with a quick sketch, to give myself an idea of what I want to create. This is going to be a trench line. I can't quite dig into a table to create a trench. I can create a line of fortifications that kind of resemble a trench. I'll cut some 1-inch thick rectangles out of XPS foam. You could use whatever dimensions you want, but mine are going to be about 4.5 by 2 inches. I will then cut the entire rectangle diagonally. So I'll have 2 pieces of foam that I'll use to create the fortification line. When you are cutting the foam, go ahead and make sure you cut enough stock for your entire project. You don't want to have to come back and re-mill some XPS foam. Cut it once, cut it at the beginning. First, I'm going to do all of my basic cuts. Cut out all of the squares and rectangles necessary for the project. I'll then move on to the 45-degree angle cut, where I'm cutting the rectangles and the squares in half to give me the different shapes of the fortification. Once you have your rail and your wire set, make all of your cuts. You want all of the cuts to be uniform across all of the stock that you're cutting. Right now it's not so difficult because it's just your basic 45-degree angle, but as we move on, we're going to add a little bit of complexity when we're making some of these bevel cuts. Alrighty, let's cut some of these fancy bevel cuts in the dragon's tooth. I'm going to grab one of the squares that I've cut into these triangles, and I'm going to set the hot wire to an angle that's going to shave a little bit off each side. No, I did not measure this. I don't know what the degree is. I just set it to where it looks good. Notice how I kept that first offcut, and I used that against the rail to keep my piece of foam straight and true. Now I'm going to cut the ends of the wall section using the same angle that I have here on the hot wire. This way it will fit right up to the dragon's tooth. This was the added complexity I was talking about. If you don't want to go to this level, you don't have to. You could keep everything just a straight cut and butt everything together. This is kind of like just showing off what the Proxxon can do. Now I did actually measure this. I want all the pieces to be identical. So I'm making the inside of the dragon's teeth 4 inches, and then a 2-inch section on each of the outsides, left and right. Here I'm setting the hot wire back to 0, using my triangle to make sure it's perfectly straight. Next, I will go ahead and cut some of the 4-inch pieces down to the 2-inch size. Alrighty, we're looking pretty good here. Though I think it's still a little basic looking. I'm going to make some more cuts, give it a few more angles, give it greater visual interest. As I'm doing these cuts, let's talk about how inexpensive this project is. 2 XPS foam panels at, what, $8 each, plus some medium density fiberboard for using as a base. You know, that's another $7. So $22 to $25. I've got enough material here, really, you know, to create as much terrain as I need for a tabletop. This is excellent. You just need to add the creativity. And hey, that's what I do. Now a quick dry fit just to see how it looks all together. Using my Chaos Space Marine for scale here. Don't judge me. I think it looks great. Now I just need to make, what, 40 of these? Fill an entire table with trenches. During the assembly, I'm going to add the fun part, the texture and the battle damage to the fortification. I want to make this look super grimdark, so I'll use my aluminum ball to put in a texture, and I'll use the X-Acto blade to cut out bullet marks, battle damage, and all the other fun stuff. I've taped a ruler to my desk to use as a straight edge. So when I'm gluing it together, I make sure that the different pieces of the trench line stay straight. This would also be a great time to add details from your bits box. Skulls, weapons, barbed wire, you name it. If you do glue extra bits onto your trench line, make sure you use a glue like a white PVA glue or a tacky glue. Don't use super glue or a model plastic glue. It will melt the foam. My final layer of texture is going to be some Vallejo ground texture. It's a acrylic-based paste that has like ground up marble in it to give it some texture as it dries. It's pretty cheap. It's like $10 for this entire tub, like 200 milliliters. Using it on the seams to make them disappear like magic. Off camera, I've primed the trench works using the standard black Mod Podge, and I've got here some pieces of the MDF board cut to size. Now it's time to just hot glue it down. Make sure you keep it straight. I feel this MDF basing is very important. XPS foam is a light material, and if you don't have the weight of a good base like this MDF provides, you could knock around your terrain, and it's not what you want for your battlefield. After basing, I will go ahead and give it a standard battlefield paint job. I'll start with some brown craft paint, and I'll layer on top of that some grays to make it look like stone. I'm not going to go into too much detail here because it's really a personal preference. You could choose any color scheme you want for your terrain. I think my wife stole my white craft paint, so I had to use this sand color to lighten up the gray on the stonework. I guess it's okay. I steal her crafting stuff too. Here we have the finished product. I'm really pleased how this came out. It's super simple, but it's got such a good visual appeal to it. You know, using my Eldar here for scale, it's gonna work great. The one last thing I need to do before I call it done is I need to give it a good coat of varnish. And for the varnish, I'm using some Minwax. It's a super inexpensive way to put a decent protective coating for your tabletop terrain. It lets you throw it in a box and not worry about getting all the paint chipped off. Very nice stuff. As you can see, I've also included some other projects that I worked on from that same sheet of XPS foam. I just kind of went crazy with it. Well, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm happy to be back. I should be making some more videos soon. And until later, peace.